Hi everyone, my name is Holly Jackson and I'm one of the librarians at North Hall Library, and I'm so excited to have you join me for another research tips video. This one is on creating a literature review. So first, let's talk about what is a literature review. A literature review provides an overview of what scholars have published on the particular topic that you're researching. It's not just a review though, it involves both summarizing and synthesizing what has been said on the topic. So why do we need them? Literature reviews provide a nice report of what has been researched and said about a particular field. They show that you have done the research needed to really contribute to the topic, that you've done the work. Literature reviews are often a small section of research papers, scholarly articles, and books. You'll find them in every field, including the humanities, sciences, and social sciences. So here are some questions to ask before you start your literature review. Are there a required number of sources that you need to be using? If you're doing this for an assignment, take a look at the assignment description. What audience are you writing for? Is it your classmates? Is it other scholars? Is it your instructor or somebody else? And what types of sources should you use? Books, scholarly articles, news articles, videos, blogs, websites, primary sources, government documents, or something else. There's so many different types of sources that you can be using in your research. Should you be evaluating your sources? How? Do you need to include things like background information, definitions, or the history of a topic? And do your sources need to be from a particular time period, maybe the last 3 to 5 years, or something more historical? There are 3 main steps involved in writing a literature review. The first is to find your sources, and then evaluate your sources, and then write the review. So step 1, how has the research in your field been published or presented? Is it in books, scholarly articles, conference presentations, dissertations, news articles, academic blogs or websites, some combination of all of those or more? If you're starting with Google, which a lot of people do, nothing wrong with that, know that Google has limited access to resources. They don't pay for, don't provide logins, and they only have access to a small portion of the ocean of information that's out there, as referenced in this picture. We call that the surface web. To get to things like academic articles, journals, databases, things that require logins and paid subscriptions, you have to go into the deeper web. And like our friend Scuba Steve here, you just need some special gear, but all that is for you is your Mansfield email address and password, and you'll have access to all these things even from home. On the research guide, lib.mansfield.edu/research tips, you'll find a literature review matrix. This is something that you can download, print off, make notes, or just keep it on your computer. And if it's helpful, feel free to fill this out. Modify the column headings as you need to, fill in the rows for each reading that you complete, and sort the columns to find relationships. So you can see here that the basic categories provided for you are the authors and the years, the title, the specific aims of the article or book that you're looking at, if it's qualitative or quantitative, what the research setting is, what their conclusions are, and any limitations of the research. You can also fill out the annotated bibliography worksheet, which can help for both annotated bibliographies and literature reviews. So putting in your citation information and then taking a look at what is the summary, what's the methodology that's used in this, what were the findings or results, what questions have remained unanswered or gaps still remain from the research. Representation, are there populations, aspects, or areas that you don't see represented in this piece, and what are the keywords that you use? You can take these and use these both in annotated bibliographies and in your literature review. Step 2, evaluate your sources. As you read through them, consider the smell test. What's the source of this? What is the motivation behind it? What's the evidence they're presenting? What's the logic behind it? And what have they left out? And evaluate your sources using the 6 common questions we all ask on a fairly daily basis. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who wrote it? Who published it? Who is cited? What is it about? What connection does it have to your research question? This is super important. Everything should be tied back to the question you're trying to answer by writing this literature review and doing this research. When was it written? When was it last edited? Where does it take place? Where can you access the full text? Why was it written? Why was it funded? Why was it necessary? And how did they do the research? How did they present the findings? Step 3, write the review. Remember that this is an overview that's focused on the significant literature that's in this field that you're writing out. It's not a book review, it's just an overview. You don't need to include every source ever written on this topic, just the relevant ones that you've actually read. For your introduction, describe the topic or the issues that you're researching. Provide some background information and a purpose or hypothesis for your research. Write a thesis statement supported by the literature that you're including. For the body, use essay form and don't just list the sources. This isn't an annotated bibliography, this is an actual piece of writing and it needs to use paragraph form. Report the findings of the previous research, point out trends and themes, as well as those gaps in the literature, and use quotes sparingly. This really needs to be your words, your analysis, your synthesis. Divide the literature into categories like publication, trend, chronologically, methodologically, or even thematically. This will help you organize the body of your literature review. And then in the conclusion, tie the literature that you've researched back to that thesis or hypothesis that you've come up with. What contributions have been made on the topic? What are the convincing points? And what are those gaps in the research? Be sure to look at examples of literature reviews in your field to see more specific ways to write. I will share an example in the research guide that you can look at of a literature review that I wrote, but there's other ways that you can find them as well. Most scholarly articles have some sort of literature review written towards the beginning of the articles, but there are ways to look up specific literature reviews. The most simple way would be to research your topic and then literature review in quotation marks. So here's an example of Business Source Complete. So if I were looking for something on ethics, I might search ethics or research responsibility or corporate responsibility and literature review. And I'll put literature review and corporate responsibility in quotation marks. And you can see right off at the top, comparative analysis of the dominant themes in CSR, reporting discourse in Bangladesh, a structured literature review. And you can see in the subjects, literature review is showing up. Looking at literature reviews in CINAHL, which is one of our nursing and health sciences databases, if you go into the search page and you scroll down in the bottom, you'll see a section for publication type, and systematic review is going to show up in there. Many systematic reviews are literature reviews, and those will be helpful for you. ERIC is one of our education databases. If you go into ERIC and you search for your topic, maybe I'm looking up standardized test and I put literature reviews in quotation marks, and I change on the side instead in the selected field area to SU descriptors, which stands for subject descriptors. And you'll see that literature reviews shows up in the subject. And looking up literature reviews in PsycInfo, which is one of our psychology databases, if you head to the advanced search, scroll down the search page, on the bottom right, you'll see methodology, and literature review and systematic review are going to show up in there. If you need a second opinion or somebody to ask questions about your work, talk to the Writing Center. One of the Writing Center tutors will be happy to help make sure that you're doing things, on the right track with your literature review. And if you have specific questions about your writing, you can ask them. Likewise, if you have other questions about the research end of things, ask a librarian. We're really happy to help you. You can chat with us, email us, call us, or even visit us in person by going to lib.mansfield.edu and finding more information there. Thanks for joining us, and good luck on your literature.